too. So, hey folks, it's Blair here. Today on the Year Ones, we're chatting with Asmita Chugh. In her year one, Asmita works as a brand strategist at Jack in the Box, a digital marketing agency based in India, where she's worked on advertising for global brands like Cadbury, Lay's, and Neutrogena. Asmita is also an Instagram creator under the handle at branding.Asmita. She shares knowledge and insights on the intricacies of branding, marketing, and the power of storytelling in shaping a brand's narrative. So let's put aside those distractions, get ready to think about how these insights and tips will help you. And let's welcome Asmita by asking that dreaded, tell us about yourself question.
Hi, everyone. About the question, I'm not sure if I need to elaborate on that one since Blair has done a wonderful job at describing what I do. But yes, I'm a marketing strategist from India and I'm very, very new to this field. And I'm just navigating my way through. And so far, it's been very interesting. Thrilled to be here.
Well, it's nice to have you. Now, how new is very, very new? Are you, I know we have typically folks within their first year here, but sometimes it's a little bit beyond that. So how long have you been working in marketing and I guess with Jack in the Box?
Okay. I've been working in the marketing field for about 2.5 years. But honestly, the reason why I say it's very new to me is because I graduated in economics, which is completely unrelated to marketing. So I never had any education in marketing, and everything I know, I've just learned it on the job. And I still am learning on the job. Like my current job, which is a brand strategist at Jack in the Box. When I joined the company, I had no clue how to strategize for brands, but it's been 9 months now, and I've learned so much in this 9 months. So yeah, I am pretty new to the field. Every day I have to learn stuff.
Well, you know what? I've spent a little bit more time in marketing. It's not been months, it's been years, but I think it's important you're still learning as you go. That's one of the things about marketing that's great because it's so related to things happening outside your four walls with your audience or your customers. You have to evolve with them. So
yes.
It's a lifelong learning journey. So let's maybe start with Jack in the Box. Can you tell us a little bit more about Jack in the Box? Give us a bit of a perspective about the agency.
All right. So Jack in the Box is a digital marketing agency based out of Mumbai in India. And we have a lot of clients like Pfizer, Caprese, Royal Enfields, and there is Parley, which is fruity. These are mostly Indian clients, but I'm sure most of them also have an international presence. And they're not just confined to FMCG or F&B. I've also worked with financial clients like an S&P brand, which is a systematic investment plan brand. And I worked with fintech. I worked with alcohol brands. I worked with nicotine brands. So it's a huge plethora of exposure. And I started with Jack in the Box as a brand strategist. And my first client was Pfizer, which devoted a lot of efforts in the COVID-19 vaccines. I was super excited to be a part of it. And I worked on releasing a new vaccine for babies and toddlers. So yeah, and ever since then, I started every single week, I would get a new client. Either I had to pitch them to win the client or probably pitch them a campaign idea. So that's how it went.
Interesting. So you started with Jack in the Box at some point during the pandemic, and the first client was vaccine related?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. So well, either way, it's interesting, but wow. Yeah, that's, I think given everything we saw with the pandemic, an interesting marketing communications, I guess, challenge.
Yes.
So then maybe let's talk about your work as a brand strategist and get into the role a bit more specifically. Like, what does a typical week look like as a brand strategist at Jack in the Box?
A typical week consists of, it completely depends on which brand needs me. I'm currently working with 6 brands right now. I don't have to work on them every single day. It's seasonal depending upon the campaign, or every month I propose them a new strategy. I propose them a moment marketing strategy, which is tapping onto the current and predictable trends in the future. And in India specifically, I'm not sure how it is abroad, but in India, every single week we have a lot of marketing players bringing a new trend on social media. For example, a few months ago, we had this Barbie poster trend. Then Maybelline kickstarted that metro going on with a lash extension trend, all AI generated videos, those massive bizarre campaigns. So every single week we have to participate in these trends, and I get to keep a track on that. And not only that, but this is just a very small part of my job, which is an ongoing thing. But to the crux of my job, I mostly handle the brand positioning, the overall brand strategy, which involves a lot of research, competitor analysis, analyzing data, understanding audience. And that's how I propose them campaign ideas, completely insight and research backed. So that's what the job looks like.
I love that we have you coming from having this I guess an international perspective. From, we're based in Canada, you're coming from India, and I just want to kind of clarify a little bit. So your title is brand strategist, and I know, and you work in an agency. Now, typically agencies, they have like a strategy and planning team, the creative team, and like client
Yes.
service, and then media. Those are kind
Yeah.
of the four big buckets. So I think in Canada, North America, I think they typically are called like account planners, and it's on the planning team. So is that your role as brand strategist? You're basically like on the planning team as opposed to client service and creative or media buying?
Honestly, in India, it's a fusion of roles. Even
Oh,
though,
okay.
yeah, I've been on the client servicing team as well, I've been on the creative team as well, and here I'm a brand strategist. But we get to participate and get involved in all aspects of things, if, whether there is planning or execution, because it eventually helps in the campaign to get executed in the way we had initially planned. So there's a lot of involvement from all the departments throughout. We don't like just do our stuff and delegate it to the next department.
So, okay. And what are the some of the essential, I guess, software tools that you might use in your role that someone who might be interested in a more of a strategy or planning type of role would use?
Okay, I don't necessarily use a lot of softwares, but I use a framework which is very crucial for how I arrange my insights and present my research. It's called Unadvertising Framework. I think my co-founder had actually come up with this. So unadvertising is all about that everyone is sick of watching ads, and now they want to they want to learn about something which is not too salesy, not too functional, in a very casual way. And I think that's the entire picture of social media right now. So the unadvertising framework basically consists of four parts, which is audience insights, then there is category insights, then there is platform and behavior, and then in the end it's the brand. So there are four quadrants, and I organize my research. In fact, I plan my research in that way, and then joining all the four quadrants, I come up with a brand space. So this is how my research works, and I think this really helps me examine the entire market space from so many angles that it helps me come out with something that actually brings out results.
And is there, this also sounds similar to like a creative briefing document. Is that like your version of the creative brief, or does that feed into something that guides the specific marketing communication tactics that you do and media channels that you pick?
Yeah, it's not exactly a creative briefing. This is just how we start research. This is the starting point. Then
Got it.
this further evolves into tactical approach, calendars, click to cards, things like that.
Got it. And do you do those as well, or is that somebody else within the team that would create that next step of the process, that next document?
That is something we do. We collaborate with the client servicing team and
Okay.
we both work on that. But research, coming up with brand spaces, positioning, presenting a strong position for the brand, that is something which is a majority of my job.
Got it. Okay, so it's very like, yeah, marketing research sort of
Yes,
focused
yes.
and consumer insights and category and everything like that.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, one thing we like to talk about is different skills that might get used. And one thing I noticed in your bio that you talked about being a competitive debater.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder, does your background in debating help you as a marketer or in your work as a brand strategist?
Very much. Because when you're a debater, you're good at presenting your arguments. You know how to build a case. And when I'm selling someone something, I think it's the same thing. And it's not just about selling things to my customers, but also selling my ideas to my clients. And I think that's where my debating talent comes in play. I'm super enthusiastic when I'm presenting something I'm sure of. So I think it is very important.
Yeah, I think, yeah, making a logical
Yes.
points and standing by them with conviction, with the support of your data and insights that you have.
Right.
So let's maybe talk a little bit more about I guess your side project, or this idea that you've been bringing to life for branding.Asmita. What sparked that, and how do you tell these stories that you're coming up with?
Okay. Branding.Asmita started out as a pure experiment. The reason being, before I came to Jack in the Box, I was working with Shebang, which is another creative agency. And I did a lot of award winning campaigns with them. I had mega national clients with me. It was such a thrilling experience, but I was on the client servicing side of the team. I was dealing with social media, I was dealing with nitty gritty of stuff. I never actually got the chance to strategize something from a broader perspective, which is why I wanted to switch roles and explore brand strategy. But when I started out brand strategy, I was clueless. For the first 2 months, I remember I would go to my senior, I would go to my supervisor with ideas and brand spaces, and I would brutally get rejected. And I kind of started getting demotivated because my supervisor and my senior, both of them had a lot of theoretical experience in terms of frameworks, tools, terminologies. I was very new to all that. I got into the job because I had a stellar portfolio, and I told them I'm a quick learner. So that's what I did. I thought that I have to learn branding, I have to learn strategy. And it all started out with me watching a lot of YouTube videos related to psychology, related to case studies. And that's when I thought the best way to learn something is to teach it, right? So I decided to create an Instagram account, which will not only serve as a motivation for me to study more about branding, but also for me to learn a lot more about Instagram as a platform. Because right now it's a creator economy. Even brands are trying to mimic what creators are doing, and that is exactly what I wanted to learn. So I think this account, this entire side project has never been about monetization. It has more been about my upskilling in terms of learning new things about marketing, and also learning new things about algorithms and the social media universe itself.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it kind of starts to go in a full circle. You're learning from these different uh, YouTube videos. You're looking at Instagram. You're taking the ideas and then creating your own interpretations, or synthesizing them, sharing them, and then you can
Yeah.
see how Instagram works, what's working, what's not, interacting with your community, and then it just keeps going from there as you build that brand. So it's an interesting thing for folks. I think there's a great lesson for not just early career marketers or people who want to get into it, but even someone who is more experienced in their career to like you talked about experimenting and find a way to take what you're learning and interest is in marketing and start to post and share about it. And it can help you develop, and it's really, it can help you set yourself apart, as especially early in your career when you're trying to build experience.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it didn't only motivate me, it also made everything super exciting. I even started I'm like a I'm all about reading fiction. I've never read non-fiction. I'm not the kind of person who reads self-help books or things like that. It's boring to me. But when I started studying about branding, I also read a lot of books, non-fiction books, and I was super impressed by it. I'm like, okay, branding Asmita is actually serving a purpose, and I'm not just learning things in video format, but I'm also developing this habit to read. So far, this entire Instagram account, this side gig, has been rather unexpected.
So what are some of the topics or things you've put out that have really got the attention of your community, like that they've engaged with, commented on? Are there some things that you're noticing are really resonating under the big topic of branding?
Okay, this one is interesting because every single week I would sit down and analyze which all of my posts were performing really well. And there was always this one category, this one content peg that stood out in my audience. They were extremely interested in psychology, brand psychology.
Oh,
Anywhere I talk about psychological concepts, be it things like the rule of three or anchoring bias, cognitive biases, it just, I would post about case studies, I would post about resources, but then I would post about a psychological hack and my reel would go viral. So my audience loved it.
that's interesting. That's actually an area when you say that, I'm like, I'm intrigued by it. And I don't think marketers in general spend a lot of time on the psychology of humans and decision making and behavior, and it's like fundamental to everything. And you talk about the like power of three and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good stuff. But that's really interesting to share.
Yeah, it is. And I also used to use all those cognitive biases while I was presenting my ideas to the clients. And I would be like, hey, do you know about authority bias? And then I would present an idea and they'd be like, oh, this is interesting.
You know what? So one of the things that I do here, I also have a course that I've designed and facilitate with the Canadian Marketing Association. So in Canada, it's our large sort of industry group for companies to join that is the kind of the voice for marketing. And when we were designing this course, in one of the modules, I carved out an entire section talking about the cognitive biases as it relates to analytics. And it was like the one thing that my client at the CMA was like, this is, I think this is great. This is amazing stuff. And we get a lot of the, with analytics and with all aspects of marketing, there's a lot of focus on technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of the mechanical pieces, but you can't ignore the human side of it. And the human psychology impacts that. And in analytics, especially there, the technology is being talked about a lot, but there's always a human side, and we've got biases, we've got pitfalls that impact how we interpret an analysis. So that psychology piece it's an important topic for any marketer day to day.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
It's fun. You're like actually getting me. I'm like, I'm going to be inspired. I'm going to go back and dig deeper into your account and check some of it out. And it's kind of getting me thinking right now about spending a bit more time looking into that, into that side of being a marketer as well, which I frankly haven't done in a while. So thank you for sharing that and for the inspiration.
You would love that site. It's
Totally.
amazing. It's very intriguing.
Well, I did follow the Instagram, but I'm
Oh.
going to dig deeper onto some of those topics now and look for them specifically. So let's talk about, I guess, marketing a little bit more general as we kind of have. But
Yeah.
what is it that might keep you up at night or is really on your mind about marketing right now?
Good question. I've been a little paranoid about this one because marketing is where I see myself for the rest of my life. But with the advent of AI, I'm getting a little scared because all I'm hearing is that, marketing is a career that marketers might get replaced super soon. And I keep on looking this up everywhere, that will I run out of my job? Because everywhere I look, they tell me that if you're a prompt engineer, you will still have some scope in the industry if you adapt and learn how to use AI. But it's always so technical, and it makes me wonder that at the end of the day, I'm not just dealing with data or a heterogeneous homogeneous sort of audience, right? It cannot just work like that. Even though there is AI, there is technology, there is algorithm and whatnot, there still will be a requirement for something human, for something creative, for something out of the box. And I just keep on wondering about it, that will I be required? Will my job be safe by 2030 when AI will take over?
Yeah, it's like this so far, like we're recording this in 2023, and I would probably say 95% of the guests have brought up AI as the thing that's on their mind. Now, I I feel like, and this, I feel like where it's going to be, you mentioned a prompt engineer. I think as marketers, we have to have an element of understanding how to write prompts for our different types of marketing role. But I feel like, talking about your context, if you're working as a brand strategist or as a planner in some way, like, again, it's writing prompts. I would be hard pressed to see AI taking over like a marketing research type of thing, but complementing what we do to better come up with the insights to help us frame up
Yeah.
our strategy. 100%, that's going to be there. So practicing as a prompt engineer, or whatever you want to call it, for our own situation is going to help us. Like, it's both, it's going to help us with like the more, I think, the more quantitative, the more technical sides, but we still need that humanity side that we're talking about. The psychology is still going to be there. So how do we balance it out? AI will help us with one, maybe, so we can focus on the human side a little bit more. I don't think you should worry about it, right? It's like, and I guess maybe a follow-up is, are you using AI in your work today, even to some extent?
Oh, I use it every single day. I've become so lazy. I make AI do all the work. And I feel like, what if my boss learns about this? But at the end of the day, I think there's one difference that I've noticed in the quality of work that AI delivers versus what I do. Um, what I do is way more detailed, and my insights are actually actionable, while for AI, they are mostly generic. So that's how AI is right now.
Yeah, that's what I've found as well. In some of my playing with it, when I'm asking questions, like it doesn't get to like a deep aha. In many cases, I find it like validates certain things, but it hasn't given me anything new. And I'm like been typically playing with it in the context of marketing, and I don't know. I'm like, yeah, that's a good answer, but you're not telling me anything really new. You're not like making me
Yeah.
like, you're not giving me an insight. So it gives you to a certain point, and then maybe it helps you jump off from that point a little bit more. Think about it, like, okay, if I can do this, well, what's that next step? So we'll see where it goes. It's not going to go away, right? So it's, how do we bring it into our tool set for the work that we're doing in marketing?
Yes.
Asmita, let's shift a little bit and let's go back and explore getting to your day one. Can you tell us about your job search journey to get into marketing at Jack in the Box?
Okay, Jack in the Box was not my first full-time job. It was at Shebang, so I'll tell you about that.
Sure, great.
Uh, so, okay, the fun thing is, I graduated last year in July, and my last exam for the semester was on 30th May, and I started working at Shebang on 1st June. So I just got one day off,
Okay,
and I already
pretty
had,
good.
yeah, I had like a couple of offers because I strategized it very smartly. Um, I had done uh, convert two internships that actually gave me offer letters full time. Apart from that, I had multiple internships with different startups, but some of them actually didn't work out. Uh, so I had offers from two brands, but I wanted to go to the agency side instead of the product side. So I started applying to a lot of agencies in India, and my process was I trusted LinkedIn. My go-to process was using LinkedIn and not just applying for the jobs. I actually created a resume, a very very detailed resume with all my achievements quantified. I mentioned how I actually grew a page from several percentage to several percentage in 1 quarter. So I quantified all my achievements. I uh, put all the impact that I made on Spotlight. And then I also made a portfolio, which I think played a very, very important part in my this job hacking journey. I created an extensive portfolio and a video resume.
Okay,
I call it Visume because my portfolio consisted of all the campaigns I did, some creative social media posts that got featured by marketing agencies, which give awards to other marketing agencies for good creativity and stuff like that. So some of them got featured, and I put in that. Then I also put in my hobbies, which included a lot of reading, and to give myself a little personality and look like the kind of person who's like a little interesting, so they can actually bring something to the table. I highlighted my personality on my portfolio and my achievements, and everything was visually there. Resume spoke to people on text. And then there was my Visume, which was just a 2-minute long video. But it again summarized every single thing, but in a very, very quirky manner. So that's how it went. And here comes the best part. I just didn't apply
that was
meaning that,
pretty good already. So,
yeah,
okay, what's the best part?
I was very determined to get a job at an agency. And the sad thing is, most agencies in India, they want you to have some prior experience working at an agency to actually land a full-time job. But for me, I've always worked with product based companies, startups. So I didn't have any agency experience. So I reached out to HRs, I reached out to group heads, I reached out to marketing VPs of all these top agencies. I sent them a voice memo on LinkedIn. I bought a premium subscription. I sent them my portfolio, my resume, and my resume. And I told them, hey, I'm Asmita, I just graduated, and I have tons of internship experience, and I'm looking for my first job. And that's how I got some offers from agencies as well, and I picked the best one.
So, okay, this is awesome. So let me, I don't even know. So the tools, your communication pieces, you had your LinkedIn profile, and you talked
Yes,
about the um, the accomplishments or achievements were you always had some quantifiable aspect to those points. So you use some
yes,
numbers to support it, which is important. You had a portfolio, which was more visible. And what was the format of that? Was it like a website? Was it a PDF document? Like, what was the format of the portfolio?
it was a PDF made on Canva, but very pretty.
Okay, so you have this portfolio that's more visual, and then
Yes,
you have your Visume, which is this 2-minute video resume introduction, and that
yes,
was posted somewhere. So you went to employers with this like this Asmita marketing campaign that had 3 different tactics as part of it to help tell your story.
Yes. And I didn't just reach out to employers. I think the best part was that I stalked all the group heads and marketing managers, and I directly reached out to them saying, hey, because I couldn't find an opening on the LinkedIn website. So I told them that if you have an opening, you should consider looking at my profile. And I think that's how it worked out better.
So the question started about talking about your job search journey. And it sounded like there's many different answers, but like, would you say it was an easy journey? Like you talk about it very positively, and it sounds like things happened quick. You graduated and then one day later you started. Yeah, I don't know, was it typical? Would you say it was an easy journey, or were there some parts of it that actually were hard? Because you make it sound easy. And I think it's a bit of a compliment. You set up all of these different tools, so you really brought yourself into it. But was it an easy journey? Were there some hard parts that you went through?
I wouldn't say it was easy, but personally speaking, I treated it as a campaign, like you mentioned. I planned it. I started planning for it 5 months prior to actually when I started doing the job. So I was thinking, I was being super proactive, and I planned everything so systematically that when it happened, it just felt so easy. And like a well-planned campaign, I just executed it. I knew which tools to use. I did my research, and I think one of the most important things that I would suggest all the first-year students to think about is while you're making your resume or while you're presenting your work to an employer, or how you reach out to an employer is the most important part. And there is this Instagram page called WorkHap. I used to stalk that page a lot, and that taught me everything about job searching to actually negotiating for the salary as well. It had everything. So I would say it was moderately easy.
Yeah, so I think, and I didn't get the name of the Instagram page. After, we'll make sure we get it. We'll put the link in the show notes if you can send that. But it sounds like you went in with a plan, like the Hire Asmita campaign, and you planned it and you did the parts and then you executed it. And I think having that to ground you, that process can help you through to make that job search more effective. Yeah, that's like the more you put in, the more you plan it, the better chance you have of it being smoother, of it being more, successful quicker.
But here's an interesting thing. For my second job, which is at JITB, I didn't even apply. I wasn't even looking for a job change. I was just consistently posting and networking on LinkedIn. And someone just reached out to me and they said that, I like your profile. Would you like to work in my team? And that's how it happened.
Yeah.
So I think LinkedIn is very important.
Well, you know what? It's like it sounds like you had to do some applying, but again, we'll call it the campaign, but this idea of just of having multiple communication touch points, your resume, your portfolio, your Visume, visual resume, posting and sharing on especially LinkedIn, Instagram, if you point them there, like you've got this integrated campaign for you, and it makes you discoverable. It shares your voice, and it naturally invites people in to say, hey, are you interested? We're hiring. Are you interested in this?
Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of like what we started talking about, people not like, you're the agents, Jack in the Box. It's like people don't want to be advertised to anymore. The same thing for an employer. They don't want another resume and cover letter. That's advertising. They don't want that. They want the story of who they're going to hire and how it helps them. So I think what you're doing, it takes effort, but it's a fantastic lesson for people searching for the job to, again, tell your story. What's your story, and bring it to life. So let's say, aside from your brand, which is
Okay.
doing, I think, it sounds like some good work. What's another brand or an organization that you think does good marketing?
In India?
It can be any brand. Sure. Yeah. What do you think?
Okay, there's this agency in India which I'm eyeing right now. I'm planning to join that in a few, probably by this year end, because that's one of the top 10 agencies in India. It's called Talented, and they do out of the box campaigns. They win all the creative awards there are in India. And the best part is that I recently reviewed one of their campaigns and the team really liked my reel. So I'm looking forward to it. They make
Oh,
they make incredibly cool campaigns, and now they've also started to use a lot of AI and AR. So they're just going beyond where the other traditional agencies are right now.
so Talented, it's an agency in India. That's the one.
Yes.
All right. So what we're going to do once this episode is finished, you're obviously going to get it. You're going to send them a link to this, and this is going to be your job interview right there. I think they're going to at least want to
I
talk to
can
you on
attach
the
this to my
spot.
resume.
There you go. Right. But
Yeah.
honestly, this is how it all works. Like, we're not making this up. And you're going to have to let us know if for whatever reason this show helps you get the job, because then that will be helpful for
I'll give you
everybody.
a
So I
big
want to
shout
know
out.
how it goes. Yes. Okay. That's a deal. So Asmita, let's start to wrap things up here. If we haven't, I guess, giving some things that you've learned along the way. So another typical job interview question is, tell us about a time that you made a mistake. So is there a mistake that you made in your year one, or even a common rookie mistake that you see other people make that you want to share?
Yes, I did make a mistake. I made a big blunder. um, so I was working on the client servicing team in my first few months of my job. I was very new to it, and I was very excited about creating everyday posts, dealing with the client, planning, posting everything. And sometimes, human errors, I would forget to post, and then the client would get super angry. Now, the worst part was that I didn't accept my miss in the beginning. I would tell them that, hey, I had other things to do. That's why I forgot. I'm so sorry. But I wouldn't tell them that, hey, this is completely my responsibility. I take full responsibility. I would never do that uh, until one of my seniors actually had to have this conversation with me that this is a recurring pattern and the client doesn't appreciate it. Even if it's not an intentional mistake, you should always take full responsibility of whenever you do
Hmm.
an error, and then just move past it. But if you deny it, that's just going to spoil the relationship that you have with them. And after that, I started implementing it, and I think I've also started making lesser mistakes, so that's another thing.
But thanks for sharing that. That, like, it's a tough question to talk about for people, but it sounds like the key with this is a learning experience, right? And it sounds like you learned from that mistake, and once you make something once, you are less likely to make it again because you're not going to forget about it.
Yes, that's true.
So this might lead us into a similar type question, but different. What's an important lesson that you've learned in your year one as a marketer?
Okay, in my year one, the most important thing that I learned was, when I'm marketing for a product, never think from the product's angle. Never think about a product. Always have a customer first approach. Always care about them and not the product. If you care about your customers will care about your product.
That's like marketing 101, day one, lesson one, minute one.
It took me a year to learn that.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. At least it's there. And thanks for sharing that. And you've now helped other people who will hopefully learn it a bit sooner. And then a final, just general, is there a piece of advice or a tip that you have for somebody who's working towards their day one in marketing?
Yes. Okay, this one is important. This is another mistake that I did. on my first few weeks while I entered the industry. Um, if you don't know something or if you're confused about something, always ask questions. Ask as many questions as you could, because it's always smarter to look like an idiot in the beginning than in the end.
It's smarter to look like an idiot at the beginning. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you know what? That's one of the things when early on, you have the opportunity to ask questions, and the more time you spend there, there's more expected of you. So yeah, ask early and ask often, I think, is a great one. And this is a tip that we hear quite regularly on the show. And I hope that people who listen to it really sort of take it to heart, because there's often a fear that comes with asking questions, and
there's also
I
this
don't think we should.
ego that you don't want to ask for help.
Yeah, you don't want to be seen as maybe being potentially wrong or less smart or whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, ask that question. Asmita, it was wonderful to chat with you today. And thanks a bunch for investing your time and definitely sharing insights with the year one community. So before you go, can you remind people where they could find out more about you, see things that you're sharing online? What's the best place to get to see your campaign?
All right. I actually don't have my portfolio or resume out yet. I'm revamping on my prior resume and portfolio. But if you really want to follow me or learn more about Hire Asmita campaign or the other campaigns that I've worked on, you can check out my Instagram. It goes by the title branding.Asmita on Instagram. Or you can go through my LinkedIn, which is Asmita Chugh. You will find similar content on my LinkedIn as well. But otherwise, feel free to reach out to me and I can help you with your own recruitment process. I'm very helpful that way.
Awesome.
But on a side note, thank you so much, Blair, for having me on this podcast. I also have been planning this specific Hire Asmita for this podcast campaign as well. And I appreciate how interesting this session had been. And I learned a lot about the AI perspective. I'm sure I'd be able to sleep in peace tonight.
Thank you. Well, we'll make sure that people get all of the links for you. And it was a wonderful conversation. And one of the things that we try to do more with the show, and we're taking it beyond just audio into video now. That's the next journey. But also get more folks from different parts of the world. We have had a few folks from, I think a couple of folks from India, one from Europe. The main perspective has been more North America. So I appreciate you reaching out when we connected on LinkedIn, and and we had, I think this was a great conversation, and we'll see where it leads. You're now part of the year one community, so it's only good things from here. Talking about marketing and helping people want to get into marketing. So for those of you who are looking to get into marketing, getting a job, any job isn't necessarily easy, but as we've heard today, there is a way that you can use all these marketing principles and practices for yourself and get that job. So with guests like Asmita and myself here, we're here to help you get it. So thanks for joining us, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing you next time.